We haven't seen Tesla do anything like this in years, so I was very excited to see it, but if you're in the US and you're taking delivery of a Model 3 or a Model Y within the month of December, Tesla is just basically deducting $3,750 from your total payment, which is really cool. This is not a, gift card credit that you get after you take delivery. No, this is a point of sale, straight up discount right off the top of brand new vehicles. And by the way, if you haven't put in an order for a Tesla yet and you're thinking about getting one, there's a lot in existing inventory that don't even have that many add-ons. Like, you can get a base model, entry-level Model 3 for the same that it would cost for you to configure it yourself in existing inventory, depending on where you live in the country, and just take delivery of it this month and get that discount, which is amazing. But of course, let's address the Tesla bears here. They're all probably wondering, oh, this means demand has fallen. No one's buying Teslas anymore. Elon's too controversial, so nobody's willing to buy the best electric cars anymore. But I'm here today to tell you I actually do not think that demand has dwindled. I'm sure that Tesla has caught up on orders, but you'd have to be kind of ridiculous to not acknowledge that production capacity, particularly for the Model Y in the United States, has gone up a lot thanks to Giga Texas ramping with the long-range Model Ys. So naturally, as you start building more vehicles, the wait times are going to go down. But specifically with the Model 3 for a second, let's just address that. The wait times have definitely decreased, and we don't know exactly if production capacity has ramped up all that much. I'm speculating a little bit because they turned off orders for the Model 3 long range, although you tend to still be able to find them in existing inventory. That makes me think that Tesla has been importing more LFP Model 3 rear-wheel drive battery packs, and they've been able to divert more and more of the Fremont assembly line just towards Model 3 rear-wheel drive units, which, considering they're like $15,000 cheaper than the performance model, I have to assume that's what the vast majority of Model 3 orders are right now, are the LFP version, because it's basically the only Tesla you can buy that's under $60,000. So I feel like that has to be a pretty popular model, and the fact that they haven't increased the price on that one while increasing the prices of pretty much all their other models means that simply by cutting out the long-range production, they have been able to catch up on orders. And that's why if you're on the configurator, it still basically says if you order a Model 3, you will get it this month, and that means you qualify for the discount. If demand was actually dwindling and there were less people ordering these vehicles, Tesla, I think, would easily want to just cut prices like they normally do. We've seen Tesla do price cuts in the past. It feels like forever ago, but I remember back in the day talking about when Tesla would drop the price by another $2,000 or $3,000. Oh, those were good times. It feels like so long ago. But we know what Tesla does when they want more demand or they want more people ordering their product. They can easily just update the website in a few seconds, lower the price of the vehicle, and call it a day. But they're not doing that here. They're specifically saying you get the discount if you take delivery in this month. This makes me think that Tesla is likely dealing with a lot of people trying to delay delivery because, of course, of the federal tax credit, which I do find it interesting that they chose such a specific discount, like $3,750. Very precise, not quite $4,000, not quite $3,000, not quite $3,500, but right in there, likely because Tesla has a plan when this federal tax credit goes into place. I bet they're hearing from a lot of their people that have Teslas on order, and Tesla's reaching out to them saying, hey, your vehicle's ready for delivery, and everyone's going, no, I want the $7,500 tax credit, so I'm not taking delivery until 12:01 a.m. on New Year's Day. That way I can get $7,500 deducted from my vehicle price, where while that may be the case and that may be the general narrative going around, I don't think everyone realizes that the federal tax credit requires a certain number of the cells in the vehicle to be domestically produced. So I'm fairly confident that the lithium iron phosphate Model 3 will not qualify for the tax credit at all, and we're still not entirely sure if even the long-range Model Ys qualify for this tax credit, because a lot of the materials that go into those battery packs are imported from other countries. I know the packs are assembled domestically, but that's one of the things I really don't like about this new federal tax credit, is it's not very specific and it's not very clear as to which vehicles actually qualify, because you have to reach a certain percentage threshold for your vehicle to get the full discount versus getting half of the discount. So the fact that they're putting $3,750, which is exactly half of $7,500, that makes me wonder if Tesla isn't going to qualify qualify for the full tax credit. And they're basically saying, guys, please stop delaying your orders. Just take delivery of the thing now. You'll get that same tax credit maybe next year if they qualify for it. But we know the Model 3 Performance won't qualify for the tax credit because in the sedan sector, the limit is $55,000 and the Performance is above that. And even if they let people take orders again for the Model 3 Long Range, that still costs $58,000, which is beyond the $55,000 limit for the tax credit. So unless Tesla is going to lower prices on the Long Range again, get it below $55,000, that way it qualifies for, again, it could be half the federal tax credit, could be less. Maybe it's the full tax credit. We don't have concrete information on that yet, but the reason I don't think they're necessarily eager to bring back the Long Range Model 3 is because that same battery pack that goes in that vehicle can easily be sent to a Model Y Long Range that they can easily charge $66,000 for. Much more expensive than the Model 3 Long Range, and because of the single piece castings and all of the similar parts that the Model 3 and Y share, it probably doesn't cost Tesla that much more to make a Model Y. It might even cost them less to build. So trying to increase demand and increase the number of orders for the Long Range Model 3, I don't think really makes that much sense, when especially, at least right now, they are not increasing production capacity for the Model 3 actively. There's talk of them filing paperwork for the Fremont factory and updating the design a bit to make it a bit more manufacturer friendly, and hopefully that means that sometime next year we get an update and Model 3s can be built at a faster rate. But in terms of right now, like as we're speaking, the Model Y is what's ramping. Giga Texas is only building those right now, and every week they're building a little bit more than they were before. So I feel like if anything, Tesla is trying to discourage people from delaying their delivery until next year, because the tax credit ultimately isn't going to end up being as good as people think, because let's say even Tesla qualifies for the $7,500 tax credit. If demand outpaces their production supply, then they can easily just raise the price by $4,000, $5,000 and say, well, with the $7,500 tax credit, it's still cheaper. But I'm just trying to warn so many of you out there, because I see a lot of people just imagining, oh, my dream car, it's going to be $7,500 cheaper. That's great. When in reality, it doesn't address the main issue with EV production, which means that yes, Tesla can indirectly be a lot more profitable because the SUV limit for the tax credit is much higher, so Tesla can get away with charging $70,000 or $75,000 per Model Y because they know they can tell you, well, hey, $7,500 will be deducted anyway, so it's actually not that expensive. So ultimately, the tax credit might only end up saving you $1,000 or $2,000, which, hey, I guess that's better than nothing, but in my view, it just kind of complicates the whole buying process because Tesla has to list a certain price and now you got to do extra math. Don't forget the sales tax and the registration and the documentation fees. It's already complicated enough to figure out what the total end result of the car price is, and the tax credit just kind of makes that even weirder. So I'm all in favor of EVs becoming more affordable. I just don't think the point of sale federal tax credit is the best way to go about it. I think the best way, which it seems like they are pushing, is providing lots and lots of tax breaks and deductions for any company that is willing to build batteries domestically, because if you can shrink the amount of distance needed to transport cells and materials to make electric vehicles, and you can increase the production capacity, then EVs will become genuinely cheaper and not artificially cheaper based on what tax breaks there are. And if you're playing the game of, I'm waiting for the federal tax break, then there's another bill being proposed to change the wording of the tax break on EVs so that it doesn't matter where the materials in the battery pack were mined from. So you can play this waiting game even longer if you want and say, I'm not taking delivery until 2024 because by then maybe the tax break will be a flat $7,500 no matter where your battery pack was built, and that would qualify more EVs, I guess. So I know you can always play the waiting game. There's always some better tax break coming around the corner or some big refresh. Like there's a lot of talk right now about Tesla updating the Fremont factory and preparing for these new refresh design changes, where the truth is there's always going to be another refresh. There's always going to be another update around the corner. I get that you want to time it and everything, but ultimately you just got to accept there's going to be some advantages to buying now and some disadvantages to not buying now. And the longer you wait, the more likely Tesla is to remove certain things that you may appreciate, whether it be ultrasonic sensors or standard connectivity for the life of the vehicle, or if you really like having a full steering wheel and gear stocks, that might drop next year and you might have to live with a yoke or capacitive buttons that you don't like, but you might get a cheaper vehicle in the future. So ultimately, I think it depends on where you are in your life, how your current vehicle is doing. Can you financially afford to make that push, and are you happy with the current state of the product. But trust me, as someone who waited for years and years before getting my Model 3, that there's always something around the corner that sounds promising, and then it can end up being disappointing or not as great as you hoped. But personally, I don't think that there's gonna be massive price drops at the start of next year. I think that this deduction is just a way to encourage people to take delivery now so that Tesla can maximize, of course, their Q4 delivery numbers. Plus, I'm sure it's causing a lot of issues when you're having this many people all trying to delay delivery at the same time. Whereas if it was a genuine demand problem and Tesla wanted more people ordering their cars, they would just apply a $3,000 discount on the actual configurator, which they did not do. If anything, depending on what Tesla qualifies for with this tax break, we might actually start to see price increases to compensate for that tax cut. I think it's very unlikely that Tesla is going to leave all prices the same and just let everyone subtract $7,500 from the price of the vehicle. There's too much room for profit there, and I don't see them just standing aside and saying, okay, great, everybody can have a cheaper car now. But what do you guys think the situation is? Do you think there's actually less people ordering these vehicles? Do you think Tesla has a demand problem, and should they revamp the referral program so that we actually get credits for people ordering cars? I'll be happy to help you sell more vehicles, Tesla. I'm very much enjoying my ownership experience, so I want more people to enjoy it like I have. All that good stuff. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. And thank you to everybody on Patreon supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. Have an excellent rest of your day.